Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark, joined by Ike Reese and Mike Quick. And the Birds have lost 3 in a row. They're going down to Carolina to face a 3-1 Panthers team. But how about the Birds offense? They did put up 461 yards and 30 points. Who stood out to you, Mike Quick?
Well, 122 of those yards, it was Devontae Smith. Had 7 catches, and I can't wait to see great receiver play. And I thought he was outstanding in that football game, and we're going to see a whole lot more of that. Watch this particular route that I want to show everyone. It's him in a one-on-one situation where he's got a little stutter go. He burst off the line of scrimmage, and you see a little hesitation about 10 yards deep, and then he really sails the deep route, and he gets that cornerback flowing down the field, and all of a sudden, he hits the brakes at 18 yards, comes back to 16, and a perfectly thrown ball. But that one-on-one coverage and his ability to break down one-on-one cover defense, we're going to see a lot of that.
How about you? I mean, he's a great route runner. Who stood out to you?
Well, another young guy, Kenny Gainwell. I think the dual threat in the backfield of Gainwell and Sanders is going to start to pay dividends even more as the season goes along. Kenny Gainwell is starting to become a bigger part of this offense, getting more touches. Thought he did a nice job in the Dallas game, and then you watch him in this Kansas City game. He did some wonderful things out of the backfield, running the ball over 10 yards per carry, made the most out of his 3 rushes. But I like what he's doing out of the backfield as a receiver. 6 receptions, almost 60 yards. He's a threat to go the distance every time he touches the ball. Got his 2nd touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. If this offense is going to continue to put up these type of numbers, they're going to need to continue to include everyone, and Kenny Gainwell is becoming a bigger part of the offense.
Listen, Jalen Hurts was really good, but these young guys, the supporting cast, they're coming along just fine.
Yeah, and you want to see consistency from the young guys. And they're going down to Carolina to face a Panthers defense. It's only given up about 16.5 points. Only 2 teams in the NFL are giving up fewer points. And with more on that Panthers defense, here's Enemy Intel with Greg Cosell.
The Eagles have not faced the Carolina Panthers in a couple of years. Not since Matt Rule became the head coach and Phil Snow became the defensive coordinator. And we've really seen a different Carolina defense under Phil Snow. Some of the staples, and the Eagles will see these things, multiple front looks, a lot of different coverages. They will play nickel, they will play dime, they will mix and match personnel. And one thing they can always count on, and this is one reason why for the most part they've played well this year, is they can rush the quarterback from the edge with Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns. One of the things they're very, very good at is showing a lot of different front looks, pressure looks. They'll get 5 or 6 defenders up on the line of scrimmage, and that makes it very difficult for the offensive line to identify who's coming and who's not coming. So it really creates stress and a burden for pass protection. And what they do a lot is show overload principles. You're going to see that against the Jets. They show an overload look to the left side of the offensive formation, and the protection moves that way. So what do you end up getting? You end up getting Brian Burns, one of the best pass rushers off the edge in the NFL, free to the quarterback. This is a great example of how they dictate a protection and then they break it down. You can see that again against Jameis Winston and the Saints. You see a lot of people walking around up at the line of scrimmage. You see Shaq Thompson in the A-gap. You see Jeremy Chin moving around. You just don't know where they'll be when the ball is snapped. So again, you're struggling to identify who's coming and who's not coming. Because don't forget, it's not a guessing game for the offense. If there's 6 on the line of scrimmage, they need to be prepared to block 6, even though 6 may not come and likely won't. So again, what's the result? Brian Burns is free to the quarterback for a sack. So this will be a challenge for the Eagles' offensive line against the multiple front looks of the Panthers. And it's a challenge that has started all throughout this week.
All right, Greg showed us right there the test that the Eagles have, especially the offensive line. You're still missing some starters, but Jalen Hurts against the Chiefs, 434 total yards of offense. Mike Quick, what stood out with you about Jalen in that game?
I just think that he's really growing. And you hear Nick Sirianni talking about it's his best game. I just think you watch the growth from week 1 to week 2, and this game I think was certainly his best game, but just the progression, the calmness in the pocket, the decision making. He wasn't perfect, but boy, he hit on a lot of really good throws.
And you're going down to face a Panthers defense that I believe has 14 sacks, second most in the NFL. Ike Reese, you got to protect Jalen Hurts. He's able to move around in the pocket, get out of the pocket, but what can they do to help protect him?
Well, obviously getting the ball out of his hands quick, right? I think he had like 20-something passes last week where he got the ball out nearly in 2 seconds. That makes the offensive line's job easier when it comes to pass protection, and it gives a chance for the playmakers to get the ball in their hands quick and go make something happen so that Jalen doesn't have to feel like he needs to do everything on a particular play. Get that ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them do the job. And I thought that was a big difference in last week's game versus Kansas City versus what we saw the week before.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by Pepsi, your official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles.
Hurts goes straight back. He's looking, he's rolling, he's going deep, he wants Devontae Smith, and it is caught! Hurts back, Hurts firing, and it is caught for a touchdown as he guns it perfectly to Greg Ward. Hurts fires, Hurts completes it, touchdown!
What I saw yesterday from him was just consistency over and over and over again, right? So, you can see a lot of different guys go out there and make a splash play, but can they do it week in, week out, and can they do it consistently through the first, second, third, and fourth quarters? And that's what was impressive about Jalen's game, that he continually made good plays with the football, decisions with the football. He was accurate with throws. He made some scrambles when he needed to make some scrambles. There was a time or two where I was like, just stay in that pocket and rip that thing over here before you escape over here to the other side. But again, I know what his strengths are too, so I don't want to cage him up on that. I don't want to put anything on him that stops him from making plays. And so, there's a fine line there.
All right, so we just heard from Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni discussing some of the good things we saw from Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and also some of the areas where they want to see him continue to improve. And I think that's important, obviously discussing a young quarterback and the strides he is continuing to make here in just his 8th NFL start. I think when you look at his performance overall, we saw some really good things from Jalen Hurts last week against Kansas City. A lot of that has to do with Jalen. A lot of that has to do with the game plan. I thought the coaches really orchestrated things at a high level. They mixed things up to keep Kansas City on their toes defensively. We saw RPOs, we saw play action, getting Jalen Hurts out of the pocket. We saw the screen game. And through 4 weeks here in this season, the Eagles lead the NFL with screen passes. That's not just to the running backs, but also to the wide receivers. They love those tunnel screens where it's a jailbreak. You get the offensive line releasing out to the outside, to the perimeter, and the wide receiver working underneath those blocks. And there are a couple of different things that are really important there. Number one, the timing needs to be on point between the wide receiver and the quarterback. Number two, the offensive line. They've obviously got to get up to the second level. And number three, you need those wide receivers to be decisive and play off of those blocks, get downhill as fast as possible. And I thought really in this game against Kansas City, we saw the Eagles get to these screens in a lot of different ways, and the creativity there really stood out to me, and it started very early on. Let's take a look here. This is going to be a screen pass to Devontae Smith, who is lined up to the far left of the bunch formation, but before the snap, we're going to get Quez Watkins coming in motion here from left to right. The Eagles running a little play action screen where they're going to try and get Miles Sanders down the seam. What does that mean? You're going to get a lot of defensive flow in that direction. All the white jerseys all going to move towards this action, following Miles Sanders, following the motion from Quez Watkins. And what does that mean? Well, that means the Eagles now are going to hit them the other way. Watch what happens here is now you're going to try and dial up this screen to Devontae Smith. Watch the blocks from J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. You're going to get Andre Dillard out into space. Landon Dickerson does a great job. He gets out into space. Jason Kelsey does a nice job as the cleanup guy on the backside. And we're going to let this roll, and you could see all of the blocks kind of just declare themselves. This is an outstanding job from this Eagles offense. Look, it's a hat on a hat across the board. You got wide receiver Devontae Smith one-on-one with the safety. That is exactly how you draw it up. And the rookie first-round pick goes 22 yards there to pick up a first down. That's one way the Eagles were able to get to that, was the use of pre-snap motion to be able to create some space for Smith to work. Go a little bit later in the game. The Eagles now down into the red zone. And what do we see? They're in an empty set. 5 wide receivers here. It's an 11 personnel set, meaning you've got running back Kenny Gainwell on the field. And his versatility is a big part of his game. I mentioned empty personnel. Jalen Hurts by himself here in the backfield. And the big thing, you're going to get a cover 0 blitz here from the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles will see this as well on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. But the big thing is that this ball has got to come out fast. Jalen Hurts is going to take a shot here when you're sending 6 defenders with just 5 offensive linemen. You're going to get that free runner. Jalen Hurts knows he's got to get this ball out fast. His timing with Kenny Gainwell is outstanding. And what I love here from Gainwell is the decisiveness playing off this block. He's making this cut inside off of Jason Kelce. I mean, Kelce's 3 or 4 yards away from the defender. Just an outstanding cut from Kenny Gainwell. He gets the Eagles inside the 5-yard line, tries to set up here a touchdown. Great job executing a well-designed screen pass against the blitz. That's a great way to beat that defense when they're trying to be aggressive. One more look here at the screen game. This time, you get another empty set. No running backs on the field this time. You've got 4 wide receivers. Here you see Quez Watkins, there's Jalen Reagor, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Devontae Smith. So 4 wide receivers, 1 tight end, no running backs on the field. But what do the Eagles do? They use a little pre-snap motion. They're going to take Jalen Reagor, and they're going to motion him into the backfield. And right now, you're going to get a lot of alarm bells going off in the back 7. Kansas City trying to figure out what exactly is going on. They've got to communicate what this look is. The Eagles haven't really put this on film yet. So what do you get? You get a little play action fake going to the right side. Again, you're generating that flow. You're getting eyes looking one way, and you're going to try and hit them coming back the other way. The Eagles now throwing this pass to Quez Watkins here on the perimeter. You get the cleanup block from Jason Kelce. You've got Andre Dillard out in space. You've got Landon Dickerson out in space. Great block here at the bottom of the screen from Zach Ertz. And now you're spring Quez Watkins for a first down. The Eagles did a nice job. All of these screens, essentially the same play, but they got to it in a lot of different ways. And I think that's a great job of game planning from Nick Sirianni and the offensive staff. They're going to continue to have to do this to create some of these well-defined throws for Jalen Hurts. It's something I'm certainly going to be watching on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, Javon Hargrave, he has been the Eagles' best player so far. One thing they have to really start doing is slow down the running game, because 200 yards the Chiefs ran on them for in Dallas. They gave up 160 rushing yards. Ike Reese, what do they have to do defensively here against the run?
Well, you got to do a better job up front. We understand what Jonathan Gannon's philosophy or his preference on the defense as far as keeping the 2 high safety. They want to keep the explosive plays to a minimum. They're one of the best defenses in the league at that, but there's also a price to pay with that. And that means you're going to have to be a little more stout up front with your front 7 and stopping the run. And primarily, it's going to start with our linebackers. We need to do a better job of getting off blocks and, more importantly, get downhill on some of these plays. If our defensive line is going to do their job up front and get penetration and take up linemen, then our linebackers have to flow fast, get downhill, deliver the blow, and then get off the blocks to make the tackles. Those 4, 5, 6 yard runs need to be turned into 2, 3 yard gains, and that gives you a better chance on 3rd down to be able to get off the field.
Well, let's see if they can bring that dog mentality down to Carolina. They're going to be facing an offense led by their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. With more on this Panthers enemy intel, here's Greg Cosell.
A lot of people know the name Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Many will remember him as the offensive coordinator the year LSU won the national championship with Joe Burrow. But he had come from the New Orleans Saints. He had spent the 2 previous years before LSU with the Saints and Sean Payton. And he essentially brought the Saints offense to LSU, and he brought that now to the Carolina Panthers. This is his first year with Sam Darnold. Some of the principles you see with this offense is to get 5 out. They do not want the back in protection. Now, sometimes you have to based on a front look, but their objective is to get 5 out. And one of the things they're very, very good at against zone coverage, and they are likely to see a lot of zone coverage from the Philadelphia Eagles, is what we call high-low concepts, where you run a short route to control an underneath zone defender, and then you run a route at the intermediate level behind it. And that route is usually open, particularly if the underneath zone defender sits on the short route. It's a basic concept. It's in everybody's playbook. The Panthers executed extremely well. We saw it last week against the Dallas Cowboys. And the player they like to go to is DJ Moore, one of the best receivers in the league. He's their boundary X receiver a good part of the time. He's very good running the intermediate route in the high-low concept. And we've seen that all year long. So this is an offense that's effective attacking zone coverage. DJ Moore is their #1 receiver. But Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall are also quality receivers. So one thing the Eagles have to deal with here is, do they want to bring pressure on occasion? We've seen them do that a little bit the last couple of weeks. We'll see if they're a little selective with their pressure to keep that back in, because we know the Panthers do not want to do that. But this pass game is a challenge because of the concepts and the personnel, and the Eagles will need to be ready to defend it.
All right, how about Sam Darnold? He's got 5 passing touchdowns, but he's got 5 rushing touchdowns, an NFL record through the first 4 games. That's kind of unbelievable, but we saw in Dallas, is there a way to slow down Sam Darnold and that Panthers offense?
Yeah, don't let those 5 rushing touchdowns make you think he's turned into Lamar Jackson. That's not the case. But nevertheless, you brought up the last week's game, and I thought Dallas did a great job of getting pressure on Sam Darnold. He was under duress all game long. They got out there with 4-man rushes, 5-man pressures. Nothing that offensive line did last week for Carolina worked for them against the Dallas Cowboys. And so if you want to get to Sam Darnold, he still has those old ghosts in the back of his head. He will turn the ball over once you start to put hits on him, and that's what the Eagles need to do. And last week, they got back to making turnovers. 2nd consecutive week, they were able to get a turnover. Interception off of Patrick Mahomes. Let's watch this play from Josh Sweat and how he's able to get pressure here. Nice job of lining up outside the tackle here, and at the snap of the ball, he knifes inside that tackle through the guard, getting penetration immediately in Patrick Mahomes' face. You see Javon Hargrave loop around to the outside. You got a little bit of an ET stunt there, so if Patrick Mahomes tries to escape, Javon Hargrave is right there. But most importantly, Josh Sweat affecting the quarterback's arm, gets a hit on Patrick Mahomes, leads to the first interception for this defense by Eric Wilson. We need more plays like this from our defensive line up front on Sam Darnold, and believe me, he will start to throw you the ball, and when interceptions and turnovers start to happen, they come in bunches.
Hey, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I think the key is the red zone. The Eagles started off 1 for 4 against the Chiefs in the red zone. The Panthers have given up touchdowns on every red zone trip by the opposing offense. What are you looking at, Ike?
Well, I'm looking at the overall mentality of the team, right? We need to reestablish a road warrior mentality like they did with the opening game of the season when they went down to Atlanta and just shut down that place. Go into Carolina, understand that you're focused, and this is a winnable game for you. You got to minimize mistakes, turnovers, don't beat yourself, and they can win this football game, but they have to be locked in.
Carolina is going to show the Eagles a lot of different fronts defensively, moving people all around. So I think it's going to be a big job for Jason Kelce to make sure that everybody understands what they're doing and understands what their assignments are. Get the hats in the right places, hats on hats, and make sure you're protecting this young quarterback. And whatever the game plan happens to be, it really begins up front with handling all the multiple fronts that they're going to see from that Carolina Panthers defense.
I like this, and I like you said, it's a winnable game. I mean, the wins for the Panthers have come against the Jets, Texans, and Saints. So maybe the Eagles can get their 2nd road win of the year. This has been Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota with Ike Reese and Mike Quick. I'm John Clark. Catch the kickoff show on PhiladelphiaEagles.com at 12:15. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by Pepsi, your official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles.